Good morning, my creative friends. Dr. Minette Riordan here. This is Painting in Your PJs with Minette. And this show is all about art as creative process and practice for self-discovery and personal growth. And I love using art as a way to dig a little bit more deeply into what's going on with me, how I'm feeling, what my emotions are in the minute. I'm trying to move everything around on my table. Um, I got caught up working and all of a sudden I'm like, it's time to start the show. I'm a couple of minutes behind this morning, but what's been sort of deeply on my own mind lately is the idea of core values. Good morning, Mary. And I think it's so important as to as we near the end of the year to contemplate what our core values are and what is most important to us. And I'm very grateful for my core values because I feel like those values really form the foundation of how I make decisions, how I live my life, how I build and deepen relationships, and how I connect with others. So, what I'm thinking about this morning, good morning, Barbara, is kind of a messy painted mandala that's a reflection and is going to somehow incorporate my core values. But before I get there, I want to maybe just do a little bit of writing. And I'm going to use a plain ballpoint pen. This is a technique that I love because the ballpoint pen bleeds through acrylic and you can never quite get through all of it. So, my husband and I went to one of my favorite coffee shops on Sunday morning, and I love going to coffee shops because it gets me out of my head and helps me have a little like different perspective. Good morning, Marion. A little bit different perspective on what I'm thinking about and what feels important. And we've been redoing a lot of the foundations of our business lately, and core values is a part of that. We've looked at our core values, our vision, and our mission statement. And so when I think about the things that are most important to me, I think about my 6 keys to living a Renaissance life. And one of those is deep connection. In fact, I would say that connection matters more than anything in every single area of my life. And when we're working more than anything, and when we're working with our core values, we want to think about what's most important to us. Brene Brown says you should only have one core value that you're willing to die for, right? Like it's like going to the moon and putting the flag on the moon. There's a level of commitment there that drives everything else that you do. So I want you to think about and maybe jot down some words, concepts, ideas that you believe are most important to you. So deep connection would be one for me. Obviously, creative expression is another one. And to take that even deeper, I might say, hey, good morning. So glad to see you here, Cindy. Welcome, welcome. I love your handle, Gypsy Soul. And not just creative expression, but freedom of creative expression, right? Like I have the freedom to express myself in a variety of ways through a variety of different media, through a variety of different systems, not to get political at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I value living in a place where I have the freedom to use my voice. Not everyone has that freedom. I would say that freedom of choice is another one of my highest core values that one of the things I absolutely love about being an entrepreneur is I get to choose how I spend my days. I get to choose how I spend my time. Now, that's not important to everyone. Some people really value security, and a job is great for creating that, right? So, this is how core values can start to vary and look a little bit different. And so, I'm doing some journaling about core values if you're just journaling or if you're just joining us, and then I'm going to paint a messy sort of values mandala this morning. And Marion, as I think about our workshop, it might be a fun prequel activity to send people to invite them to review and reflect on their core values. So Marion and I are holding a workshop. It has been moved to January. We were going to do it in December, but turns out everyone's saying, is there going to be another opportunity? So we are doing a workshop. I'm just going to write it right here called At the Threshold. And it's going to be the first weekend in January. And we're really going to be reflecting on how the year end and the year beginning is a threshold, a portal to what's coming next. And in order for me personally to step through that threshold, some of the foundational things I want to take with me, the knowing that I want to take with me, are what are my values. Integrity, right, is another one that is hugely important to me at all times, doing the right thing when no one is looking. So these are the foundation, the stepping stones. It's how I make decisions. It's how I choose what I'm going to focus on in my personal life. I would say that spirituality and feeling connected to something larger than myself is a core value for me. And as part of deep connection, I would add interconnectedness of all things is part of that deep connection. So I've been deep into recording my brand new Tree of Life class. And I love the stories of how trees are interconnected and communicate through their roots, right? Yes, integrity. And for me, deep connection is at the very top of my list. Connection matters more than everything. And I can't have deep connection without integrity. I can't have deep connection without vulnerability. And I want those deep connections to feel fun and playful. So I think there's so many ways to look at this, and I think it's essential that we pause here as we near the end of the year. And we're still in this last week of working in our gratitude journal. And I'm grateful for my clarity around my core values, because that clarity, and I'm just going to draw a messy mandala here, and clarity around my core values keeps me solid. It helps me make decisions. It helps me to be my most authentic self and to be the same. If you meet me in person, I'm the same as I am online. I'm not two different people. You know what I'm talking about when you meet people who seem to be, they're not the same when you meet them in person as their public persona. Part of integrity for me, one of the definitions of integrity is wholeness. And I want to be the same wherever I am, right? That feels like part of authenticity would be another value. And again, I can't have connection without vulnerability, integrity, and authenticity. So knowing this allows me to feel really grounded and solid on my own 2 feet. And this is such a fun, simple way to start a page. So often when we look at that blank page, we're like, I don't know what to draw, or I don't know what to start. When I don't know what to draw, I often will draw a mandala because they're super, super fun for me. And I also start with writing or mark making. And I'm going to put gesso over the top of this. And what I love about putting gesso over the ballpoint pen is you're going to see how that ballpoint pen will shine right through the gesso. So I'm just going to, this thing keeps getting all blocked up. I don't need a lot of gesso. And I'm going to take one of my scrapers here. I'm going to just get a coat of gesso down. You can see I can still kind of see through that to all that messiness underneath. I'm wishing I had grabbed my oil pastels from the other side of the room, but maybe we'll do something water soluble instead. So I have too much gesso on my scraper here, right? So I am going to grab, here's my Sisterhood of the Traveling Journal. So I've been having fun starting to add paint and some of my own colors and marks to this. So I'm going to come in and just clean off that little scraper right here on these pages. And I got some gesso on the back because I set it right there. Yeah, I love that, Cindy, that trying to write out your core values, you had a thought that we expect values from others, but we should have the same expectation, I would say, of ourselves. And I put a link in the description of this video to my core values assessment. So if you've never sat down and really looked at your core values, right now at the end of the year is a great time to do that. So it's just a PDF download. Another little gift for you guys that are here watching my channel. So feel free to download that. And I keep looking at these Derwent ink tents over here. I've got my Derwent ink tent sticks. I really love these. And these are the blocks. I have the pencils as well. They do different things. So these are a water-soluble pencil. And what I love about them is how pigment rich they are. They have really intense pigments and colors. So again, I'm going to lead with deep connection. It's what's sort of on my mind this morning. And I'm going to have some fun. And I'm going to put some color down. I'm not going to worry that that gesso is a little bit wet. And again, I'm going for sort of a messy mandala design here. And we'll see where we get to. And for some reason, connection is feeling like pink and green this morning. And so what I'm thinking about the colors and being sort of conscious of my color choice in the moment is this feels like spring. It feels like new growth. And when I think about connection, another value that comes out of deep connection to self, to God, to others is our own personal growth, our own personal growth. So I'd love to hear in the comments, if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, what are your top core values off the top of your head? You know, what would you say are your core values? And here's the thing about core values. If you've never done a formal core values assessment, you might find that you're holding on to values that are shoulds, that aren't actually your values. When I work privately with clients, I often find that they're holding on to values that they inherited from their parents or culture or spiritual faith-based traditions. And what they think is important isn't actually authentic to them. And I've had some clients, private clients, have really big breakthroughs around identifying core values in this way and realizing that what's most important to them is something unexpected. So that's why it's so important to make time to really reflect on this. Also, at any time in your life when you're struggling to make a decision or you're feeling stuck about your identity and what's next for you, reflect on your core values. They're an incredibly powerful tool for deepening self understanding, for understanding what's important. If you have to make a decision about travel or a job or a relationship, you can look at your core values and simply say, if I choose this, is it in alignment with my values? And if not, what should my choice be? So our core values are sacred, right? Our core values are sacred. So I'm loving this little messy mandala with these little bit of color of these Derwents in here and still being able to see some of that writing behind. Loving these bright, happy colors. When I think about values, they do make me happy. I got my hands painty really fast this morning. All right, so I'm trying to decide. So there's two ways to activate Derwents, and they do different things. I can activate them with water, and over the gesso, it's going to create a cool effect, but I can also activate them with matte medium, but I'm kind of leaning towards water. I can always come in and add a layer of matte medium later if I want to seal that color in. And I'm going to keep it kind of sketchy. I'm okay with the lines. I'm not going to worry too much about smoothing out all of the lines. I just want to get the color moving on the page. And sometimes I think when we're using art as creative process or practice that, we take it too seriously or we think it has to be perfect. And sometimes it's the simplest designs that are the most effective. The simplest designs that are the most effective. I am going to want to put matte medium on top of this because I think I'm going to want to go in and draw over the top of the whole thing with some black ink or black acrylic paint and really bring it to life. I love, again, how I can see some of that writing peeking through. One of the things that's fun about art journaling, if you want to be writing your thoughts and sharing your work, but you don't want people to actually see what you're writing, then just paint over it. And I'm, as you guys know, pretty much an open book, so you're always seeing my thoughts. But I love painting over it because it feels like it is a way to activate those thoughts even more deeply by adding color, texture, layers. So you could do this same process that I'm doing with Caran d'Ache Neo colors, with the what are they called? The woodies, right? The Stabilo woodies. I don't think watercolor pencils would be pigment rich enough, but to create something just simple and colorful like this is fun. It doesn't take a ton of time. It allows me to sit here and think and reflect on my values, on what's important. And I tend to review my values every year, either at the end of the year or the beginning of the new year. And they don't change much. So my business values, or the things that feel important in my business, have evolved over time. But there's not a lot of separation between my business values and my personal values either. And we used to have a list of our core values hanging on the fridge when the kids were little. And one time my son got really mad at me because I wouldn't let him have a computer in his bedroom because we did not think a 12 or 13-year-old boy needed a computer in his bedroom. And he screamed at me and he said, "My highest core value is freedom, and you are taking away my core value." So he used it to throw that back in my face, and it was really hard not to just laugh in the moment, but just to honor that perspective. And I would say that now at 24, that freedom is still his highest core value, especially that freedom of how to choose how he spends his time. And I think that's pretty common for kids in his generation. So it's interesting because this orange got really dark relative to the other colors. So I'm actually going to push some of this orange back. All right, I'm going to get this nice and dry. And then I think I'm going to come in with a layer of matte medium over the top of the whole thing. And then I want to add some black and some patterns to this. But again, sometimes it's the simplest, most playful things. The intention here was to connect with my core values and to do that through words and color and texture. You're doing overlapping circles. Yes, I love that. Overlapping circles is a perfect way to reflect values also. All right, so I'm going to turn my little heater on. I'm hoping it's not going to turn my power off, but if I disappear because I flip the breaker, I'll be back. It hasn't done it again since that one time. I'm getting this nice and dry so I can get that matte medium over the top, so bear with me for just a minute. And I could draw right over the top of the Derwent, but there's something about putting the matte medium down that seals it in, that seals the color in, will stop it from moving. Once these are dry, they're pretty good. The Derwents, they will stay put. You can even use them on fabric, and if you heat set them like I just did, they should stay pretty permanent. But right now, if I were to come back in with some water, then that color would be reactivated a little bit. Also, if I wanted to add some acrylic paint or make those colors even a little more vibrant, which I'm thinking I might want to do, then the matte medium will also create a great surface for doing that. So what are some other core values as you're listening? So whether you're watching the replay or watching live, so deep connection for me, integrity for Marion. Also, when you add matte medium over the top of the Derwents, notice how it brightens and intensifies those colors. Brightens and intensifies the colors. And sometimes the really elaborate pages end up being my favorites, and sometimes these really simple, colorful, just sort of morning scribbles or doodles become really important. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, and I'm just going to come over and I'm going to stick a layer of matte medium over one of these pages, which will help seal in that beautiful artwork by Andrea Chebelou in the pages of my journal. Okay, so how we doing? Good. I'm not getting it stuck underneath. All right, we're going to hit this with the dryer one more time. Courage is another one. Yes, absolutely. All right, having a craft dryer is so beneficial. And as I was drying and sitting here looking at this, I'm like, I want to keep going with the water soluble tools. So I'm going to come in here with a Stabilo Marks All pencil. I'm going to get that nice and sharp here and start to add some depth and shading. Well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. I got this new pencil sharpener and I seem to be struggling a bit with the breaking off the leads. So what I'm wanting here is I started to look at this. It feels like this is a portal, a threshold, if you will, straight to the center of my values. So I'm wanting to simply come in and create some depth and some shading in here. And I'm going to get that down and then I will decide where I want to go next, if I want that all over the design or maybe just on this one side. Mary, I love that. So Mary said a value for her is saying no to things I don't really have time for or want to do, because time for myself and for family gets sacrificed if you say yes all the time. Beautiful. I love that. And for me, that's being in integrity with yourself, right? It shows that you value connection and family above being that yes person. It shows that you care deeply for yourself as well. All right, so again, I have a choice whether to activate this with water. I'm kind of liking the black, or with the matte medium. And I'm going to start with some water. I'm going to come in with a little bit smaller brush. And you'll see this is very, very black. And because I put that layer of matte medium down first, none of the color behind is going to move. And it's going to help that black kind of stay put a little bit better. And all of these things, once they're dry, will dry permanent. Watercolor does not do that. Regular watercolor pencils don't do that. But the Stabilo Marks All and the Derwent ink tints definitely. Will dry permanent. And the way to seal them, if you want to make sure that they stay permanent, is to put that layer of matte medium over them. All right, I'm definitely liking the black, but I don't want everything to be black. That feels like too much black, so I'm kind of liking having some of it black, and I'm looking at it going, okay, I like the outline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with some of my colors. I'm going to dip them right into the water. And you get a completely different effect with these guys when you dip them into the water. Look how beautiful and vibrant those colors are. You can even mix it with that black where I still have some of that water. And what I'm really wanting is more of this blue. So I love all the different effects you can create with the Derwents. They're one of my favorite tools. And I saw a great video on somebody layering them over the top of watercolor. That was really beautiful as well. So I'm starting to see this pull together, starting to see the colors pop out in a different way. What I'm wanting is to create just more color, more vibrancy here. I'm feeling like it needs a little more of that green in there, so maybe a little darker green. And definitely want to bring that yellow highlight back into the center here. And there's something about playing with color this way in the morning that boosts my mood, that lifts my spirits. And thinking about core values gets me on, an even keel for the morning. I have a very busy day. Basically, I'm not done until 7 o'clock this evening with teaching and coaching. It's an unusually full day. And so starting from this place of play feels very important. I'm going to come back in and just start to soften up lines. Different brush. I am definitely a flat brush girl, not a round brush. I really love working with a flat brush. I feel like I have a little more control. I can scrub at things a little more. So I am liking the black, so I'm thinking this thing is going to get more black around the edges. Loving those vibrant pops of blue. Loving just sort of building up the layers with all of this. Again, enjoying how I can see the sort of depth of color here with that shadow and that highlight. It looks like I'm stepping into the flower, and I want more of that, so I can see that I'm going to want to go ahead and pull that black stabilo all the way around the design. This has a little bit of a rainbow feel to it with all of the colors, which makes me happy as well. Just adding a little pop of that green around my circles here. And you can layer and blend the Derwents as well. You can do that on like a plastic sheet of paper, or this one in these little pockets. I can come in, and if I just put some of the pigment in there, you can actually blend these colors. They're a really fun tool. Anybody else have a fondness for Derwents like I do? All right, so I'm going to come back. And I've got some spots where this is still nice and wet, and so that stabilo is going to activate where that water is. And again, this is an example of creating a page that is meaningful to me. I don't need to always create this perfectly beautiful Instagram worthy piece of art. I need to create. That's awesome. Yeah, me too, Cindy. Oh, they're on your wish list. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, if you have the pencils, you're in good shape. So if you're going to invest in the blocks rather than buying a big box, I would go to a local supply store or go on Dick Blick and order just a few of the blocks in your favorite colors and give them a try before investing in a giant box of them. They have a newish box of 100 of the pencils, and I am those are on my wish list. So I love the versatility of the pencils. Everything through love, God first, family above all else. Let them see Jesus in me. My creativity is my inner creator. Beautiful, Barbara. I absolutely love that. And it shows in you and how you live your life. I love that. All right, it's feeling like a happy, happy page. It's funny there. You can tell there's a little wet spot and it's kind of shiny there. So I love that the black is adding some depth, but now I feel like there needs to be some more pattern around the edges. I want to pull that all out to the edge of the page. So I'm just gonna add a few more marks with that Stabilo. And I like where I can still see that handwriting underneath. It creates a really lovely layered effect. Again, this is messy mandala, right? I love creating precise, detailed, zentangled versions. This is not that. This is simply filling a page with the things that I value, with the energy. And it's, of course, ends up, looking like some kind of quirky, funky flower because part of deep connection for me is being connected to nature, that interconnectedness of all things, spending time in nature. All right. So let's come in and activate and soften up some of these lines. And when that's dry, I may even add a little more color, but I love how it bleeds and pools. I'm not trying to control where it goes. There's something about activating the Derwents and the Stabilo as well with water that delights the child in me. That there's something playful, curious about what happens and how things change and how the colors intensify when we add the water to it that feels very childlike and delightful. All right, you're gonna laugh at me, but now what I'm feeling like this is fun and I like it. and I'm kind of wanting to gesso over the whole thing, um, or come in with acrylics and maybe brighten up the colors, or I don't know, maybe get the whole thing super dry and add more pattern and detail. So now that it has a lot of black, I'm going to just sit in curiosity with it. I'm thinking I'm going to get it really dry. I'm going to get another layer of matte medium over it because I don't want to lose any of this. I want to be able to always come back to this layer. But I'm wondering, where else can I go with this? And because I'm feeling stuck, that usually means it's time to step away from it. So rather than drying it with the dryer, like I'm definitely wanting some highlights in here, maybe even just, where can I brighten things up? I think what's missing is it needs a little more white in the design, a little more, some highlights. So now I added all that dark and it got dark, and now it's like, okay, how can we continue to play with this and brighten it up? Some spots are still really wet. And sometimes that layer of white then is going to allow me to come in and add those pops of color back over the top. Yeah, it just needed to bring some of that yellow back. So that's a little bit better, but I'm still feeling like it would be really fun to get this dry and then come in with a detailed black pen and add more pattern, because that's one of my favorite things to do. I think I'm going to sop up a little bit of these piles. But I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to step away from it for now. So this is my messy core values mandala using Derwent Inktense and Stabilo Marks All pencil as the first layer. And I also use gesso and matte medium for some of those underlayers. I don't want to lose all of the writing, right? I want to still be able to see some of those words in my own handwriting under there. I love that opportunity to create a really layered piece, and it doesn't quite feel done. So I'm going to step away for now, and I will be back tomorrow evening. And I'm feeling like tomorrow evening will be an evening for some intuitive collage for one of the prompts. And I think the prompt I want to do is about self-care and gratitude for my self-care practices. And so I want to create some intuitive collage around self-care. So if you're free to join me, I will be live at 5 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow evening, and I look forward to seeing you guys all very soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, and I'll come back and share what I created. Actually, before I go, good morning, Blanca. It does feel like freedom, doesn't it? And I had a two-part series last week on where I did this mandala, and I did finish it up, but I hadn't, I shared a picture on social, but I hadn't shared a picture here. It's really shiny and hard to get pictures of. So this is a mixed media piece with paint and ink, and then finished off with colored pencil. So thank you. Yeah, this one took me 3 or 4 days to get to that final state of completion. So the videos for days 1 and 2 are in the live library. So you can tell I've been a little obsessed with mandala designs, but this one feels playful and happy and a beautiful way to start the day. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I'll be back live tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. Mountain, and Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Mountain. Thank you all so much for joining me live or catching the replay. Be sure and hit that like button and let me know that you enjoyed what I shared. Bye, everyone.